Hello, hello. Live and cooking. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Hello, hello. Sorry, I'm not sure this is working right. All right, good. So I guess you can hear me, right? Can you hear me fine? Awesome, great. So that's perfect. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't speaking with myself, and I just set this up and to make sure I wasn't too close because I have my bong in between the microphone and myself, and I don't want to speak too loud. I want to get overly excited tonight. All right. So if there's anything anyone would like to talk about, you can let me know, because otherwise I'm just going to talk about the idea of understanding where you live, the existence, and that TV and radio and that idea of entertainment is pure luxury, right? You understand it's pure luxury. It's not as if that is required to live. And that's one of those big things I heard on other shows that deal with reality. They always give you this flipped side opposite reaction, which winds up being this hippie culture. So then everyone winds up living in a commune. And that, of course, is not correct. You know, there's if you've ever worked in business, you have the idea of business lasting due to its quality of its work. And then if you have a true competitive system, which would then be just local at the time, you would go to people who could build things for you, specifically, let's say a desk or a chair that you knew would do good work and it'd get done. Okay, the economy would be a lot smaller, things would be a lot slower, but things would still get done, and your quality of life would be better or different anyway. All right, so that's why I wanted to let you know about that. So anyways, I'm just about to load up some purple diesel, which is it's a hybrid 60-40. I like the diesel effect. I like the fueliness of the smell. You can kind of smell it right in the top of your nose. And to me, bud should smell when you smell the bud. It should just, when you smell it, go through. You should feel that in your lungs too. Like hit the bottom, come back with no off smell, no kind of mildew, nothing like that. Right, cheers. So I had done a video called The Plane Viewing, and if you're interested in the flat earth goes into the understanding that you live on a plane, or that the earth itself, the dirt, is formed on a plane, much like if you build a computer chip, you deal with something called a substrate or a wafer. From that, and that's plane down flat, all right, as flat as it can be. And what you do then is you put on a layer of what's called photoresist. You then, through what's called photolithography, you'll go ahead and print through a mask using light. You'll print a pattern. It'll expose a pattern onto this wafer. That wafer then goes to a process called strip. All right, that's going to go ahead and strip and etch out the exposed resist and leave only the unexposed resist, which looks like almost a mold. All right, and then you're going to go ahead and once that happens, the metal that had been sputtered onto that layer will then be left. And then what you do is you do what's called overlay. And that was kind of the importance of what I was talking to you about, the importance of precision, because overlay, especially on a cornerstone, if you don't lay your cornerstone properly, your building will collapse. And much like in overlay and in high tech, every single step, every time you lay a piece of metal through that through the sputtering process, which is laid into the ravines or the areas exposed by the photolithography process, that then all has to be overlaid properly. Otherwise, it will collapse. Even though you're talking about a microscopic type of environment, it still all works the same, just on a lot smaller level. So anyways, I wanted you to understand that as well, that the fact that we're communicating on a computer is a result of the flat plane, and the fact that you build on a flat plane from a cornerstone, right? Then that creates a square building, right? At some point, you need to be square to the flat. Right? So with that understanding, moving into this the flat plane of existence, I went to show you the what I call the Pompo-Schlanzen effect, which is overlooking the valley of Central California. And the farthest I can see is about 50 miles, and at least from this side, and then north and south, depending on the day, anywhere up to about 150 to maybe close to 200 miles. You can see about that far. Of course, at that distance, your clarity is fuzzy, But then using I call it just riding the ground, or the plane viewing process. It allows you to get underneath what appears to be curtains. If you look at it, you'll have to do it in person, but it appears to be curtains, and you're able to kind of scoot underneath those and keep looking even farther and farther across this plane that you live on. And then once you understand that alone, that understanding alone, then lets you look at that and then say, okay, all the space stuff, the idea of the moon being a light, the sun being a light, the stars being lights, right? Projections onto a plane, right? Planes being flat planes going across, each their own glory, each their own course. When the sun and the moon so-called set or rise, they're just coming in and out of view. That's all that is. When I heard somebody asking a question on the flat plane, if you see the sun then going out of view in the distance, and you see light underneath the clouds, that's quite easy to understand. If you just go ahead and understand that you're looking with your conical vision, remember that V is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So understand that those light rays then scoot underneath clouds, if those clouds are between you and what's called the perceived horizon, or at least what you can see as a horizon. So it's going to look like they're illuminated, because they are in fact illuminated to your vision from underneath, just because that's the direction of light, because light does not bend, contrary to popular misconceptions with the concave and the convex earth liars. Light does not bend. You can redirect it, all right? You can deflect it. You can refract it. You can do a lot of things, but you're not bending it. That's a very different idea, right? So am I rambling, or does anybody want to talk about anything else? Because I'm going to take another toke. Oh, I wanted to tell you real quick that none of this is important other than just understanding where you're at, and then that kind of lets you go to the rest of your life and live it. But the biggest understanding where I'm coming from and what I'm here to do is to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that's through his grace alone. You know, you're given the comforter and you're off, man. You're free, you're living, you're given the true living water, which is just people say pray. I mean, that sometimes people use words, and I want to say this correctly because I'm about to say the same thing. They don't use them, or they use them in a way that sounds almost like witchcraft. All right. So you have to pray as if there's some, you know, when I'm praying to you now, I'm speaking to you now, and you're hearing me. That's praying. It's the same thing. It's just you have to let your wants and needs known. Of course, he already knows what they are, but it helps if you need to verbalize them or however you need to do that. And then that at least focuses your Christ mind, which you're given, to look at whatever you're trying to understand. And then he teaches you through his comforter, right? Which is just the truth of the matter, man. So that, once you understand that is the truth, then you're able to say, people say, okay, why do I see? And some of the biggest questions about the flat earth, it's just the plane of existence that you live on, and you have what's called sea level, and you have what's below sea level and what's above sea level. That would be elevation, and then what's below the sea, which would be, depth. And then looking at where was I wanting to go with that whole idea? Was that if you in the moon light that goes around, if you're able to see one side of it here on one side, on the top side, let's say, or more towards the center of the plane, why does it look different than if you're a little bit farther out onto the plane? And that's simply that you're seeing it from the other side. That's all. That's as plain as I can tell you. I can tell you that light can be masked. It can be shown into a plasma, which is how you go into sputtering, like I told you before with the photolithography. When you expose those wafers and you pull out your mold, you then sputter in the metal, whatever that metal may be. Then you then strip away the remaining resist, and then you're left with that outline, or that foundation, whatever that metal foundation is. It could be a multiplying layer or an insulating layer. But the point behind that is that if that is not lined up correctly and properly with your last layer, it will not stand, i.e. a house divided cannot stand. So if your mind's divided, of course, where you stand will be on shaky ground. So that's why I say it's important to pray, and just pray means just ask questions, even to yourself, if that's the first way you have to do it, is he will answer you and he'll show you. And that happens in so many ways. It happens through whether you're being led, if you're reading the Bible, you'll be led to something and you'll read it, and it'll be read to you in a different way. You'll understand it, what it means. It may be and this goes out to a little bit on the strange side, but I'll get into some strange stuff soon about this place, is that somebody will say something just out in public. You'll be walking through somewhere, and somebody walking by you just randomly will say a name, like Jacob. And then they'll just keep walking. And then, man, you're like, well, that was strange. And then when you get home or whatever, there'll be news that comes out, or a story, something that deals with Jacob. and then, you know, you're off to the races. And then then you find something, you know, that deals with that. And of course, that deals with the times of Jacob's trouble. If you're dealing with end time revelation speak, if that's where I would go with that. If that happened again, and I told you before that several times when you start dealing with the spiritual aspects of this place, this world, this place reacts back to you. When the gypsy, I went to give her money, and she gave me 3 fingers, which is basically the Saturn finger, the Jupiter finger, and like the thumb, kind of the gun, the double barrel gun thing. And when I put my hand out with the money, she goes, "Thank you," and I could hear like a snake. And she touched me with all 3 fingers, and I could feel something trying to go into me. And I said, "It's by the power of Jesus Christ, you were bound and tied." And then that was it. Right? So I don't give money to gypsies anymore, man. Yeah, and I've seen thinner. I should have known better. Oh, man. So anyways, how long's the show been going? Can I close it already? Yeah. Did anybody want to talk about anything else? Other than that, I'm doing this on a tightrope. Nobody's talking. All right. I do have a couple other things I do want to go through real quick. The idea of numbers. And if you're dealing with numbers in a news story, start with the single one. The one being the idea of a light. Let's say the light, in this case, if you're dealing with the world, it would be the light of Lucifer. If you're dealing with if you're dealing with the comfort of Jesus Christ, you're dealing with his light, his truth, his living water. So you're 2 totally different things. All right. But most people who are in the world are dealing with the light of Lucifer, the one. You deal with then the 2. All right. The 2 is the house. The 2 is the first pillar of the temple. All right. The first visible pillar, I should say, because the first pillar being the thought. The sin is at the thought. All right. The physical action is just a manifestation of the thought. Okay. So then if you then deal with the second pillar, the 2, that is the Isis, what's considered Isis, or the female. All right. What's considered the red concern. It deals with going pink. They'll have stories that talk about going pink, and even advertisements that talk about going pink. That's the idea of if you're losing blood, you go from a deep dark red down to a pale pink. All right, that's draining the system, man. All right. So then you have the idea of the opposite and false colors. All right, being the limelight, or the green, which is the opposite. What's opposite of red? Green. Right? Stop, go. You understand that. Then what makes the limelight? Right? The yellow. What's in the middle of red and green? The yellow. All right. So you stay in the yellow. The yellow is the danger zone, man. That's the dead zone. That's where everyone holds their breath, right? At the intersection, to see if some jabroni is going to go through there real fast, right? Anyways, moving forward, so then you have that idea of the introduced yellow. And I should tell you that's also, I'm still dealing with number 2, by the way. I didn't want to let you think I was running off at the mouth. It's just that you have to always keep in mind that you're dealing with, oh, hey, dude, what's up, man? Let me just finish up with 2 real quick. So if you deal with dealing with the green, the yellow, and then the red, you're dealing with that limelight I talk about, with living in the limelight, living in the concern of the world. And then, of course, 3 being the Satan, Saturn, the bell ring, the idea of the noose putting around your neck, the final three to make the triangle or the dinner bell. Ding, 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 ding. You gobble it up. What happens when you gobble up the three? You then enter the six. 3 plus 2 plus 1 equals 6. 6 is what? 6. The cube. 6 has 8 corners. All right, so you're in the 68 or the 86th, the fallen system. You got 86. You got thrown on your head. Right, you're the 5. You're the man, the running man in the system, running after hoaxes and lies and stories. If you deal with politics, you're being lied with. At all, period. If you sign any of that gibberish, you're being lied to. If you think that any of those stories dealing with death on TV are real, you're being lied to. War, in fact, controlled demolition, strategic relocation. If somebody died, it was because it was an accident. And it's called a workplace injury, man. I once hurt my leg, man, playing basketball when I was in the Navy, man. It wasn't war. All right. I also hurt my arm once and my 2 fingers. All right. It wasn't war, though. Nobody died. Well, I got hurt, but I got over it, obviously. So anyways, moving into the 68 or the 86 system. So you're in that system, and yeah, you get beat up in here, and you have to live your life, right? And you get married. I've been married, what now? Shoot, going on 26 years. Been great, man. Dealing with a bunch of shills, hoaxers, and liars, and a bunch, man. People on this internet will set you up like you will not believe, and that's because they're working for that 68 lie-filled system, man. They have no compunction. They don't care. All right, what's true and false. It's like the person becomes the target. All right, not these hoaxers and liars and these demons. These demons, and that's another thing I'll get to, man, is these demons that move through time. I'm quite serious when I tell you this, that these demons move through time and what we call time. All right, but I'll get on to that later. That's a little bit much for right now. So anyways, I was at the 6. Anyways, you noticed how I went to the 6 and to the 8. The 6 sides, but then the cube has 8 corners. Well, what's in between those two but the 7? And if you have to think about a cube in your head or a square, if you have to set those corners up to connect, you're going to make them with a bunch of crooked sticks or swastikas, all right, or 7s. That bent pipe. Remember the Mars rover hoax with the Elvis impersonator? And he's like, I want to thank you guys for getting that bent pipe telemetry. Bent pipe telemetry is an angle, all right? You're dealing with an angle within a cube for release or to break free from, all right? Or 2, like I told you with what CERN deals with, what it really deals with, not with what they're talking about. It deals with accessing light. It deals with accessing a new source of light, and light is data. Data is ideas. All right. Ideas is creation. Creation is advancement. All right. You want to know what the shot heard around the world is going to be? It's going to be mirrored twice. It's going to be in the physical, where they'll have a hoax, where you have, 1 or 2 so-called world leaders have a hoax assassination headshot. That has to happen. But then you're going to have the spiritual headshot, which is going to be the shot heard through those who are in tune with the world. They'll be given that new light, and that new light is a new understanding, and that's a fallen understanding, because there's nothing new under the sun, man. I've told you that. All right. So anyways, I'm done there. So let me see if anybody has a question. Anybody have a question? Anybody smoking on some good buds? Oh, okay. So where are we through? I got to the 8. So let's talk about the 9 real quick. I'll finish with the 9 and the 10, and we'll be done. The 9 is the Tet. That's the Tet offensive. That's the mind. That's the offensive weapon, right? That's the offensive idea given to you. Think of the Tet Offensive with the Vietnam hoax, where that was just controlled demolition, strategic relocation, man. Endless drills, endless patrols, blowing up forests, falling out of Jeeps, dudes getting drunk. They had nothing better to do, so they just, got drunk. That's it. Smoked a lot of buds, I'm sure, some good stuff. Yeah. But anyways, I was at the 9. That was the Tet Offensive. That's what goes into your mind. How do you live, man? How do you live every day? Do you get up? Do you turn on the TV or the computer and look to see who died so that you can do what? Concern yourself with that? For what reason? You haven't given anything any thought. You haven't given anything a single thought in your life. You were told things. You were schooled like a fish. Things were put into your head. You knew they weren't right. And yet you didn't stop long enough to say, you know what, I don't have to believe this nonsense. I don't have to do that. I can go out and test it myself. Right. And that's what I did with the flat plane Earth. And that's easy enough to see with the Pompo-Schlanzen effect. Please take a look at those videos, man. That's plane viewing. Shoot, man, do that across a lake on a still morning. Are you kidding me? You'll be able to see, that'll be a great view. So anyways, 10 going into the idea of, man, the return, going 101, going back to into the 1, because you get the snake eating its tail. Look at that into your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You've just made a necklace. It's the circuit. It's the cycle. It's the 8, because if you take a loop and you twist it in the center, it's going to create the shape of an 8, yet it will be the single plane running around. You can either take the inside or outside, but you're not going to get off. Right? Okay, explain to people how spiritual warfare works. Well, here's the thing. There's 2 kinds of spiritual warfare. There's the kind where you're dealing with someone who's just trying to bring your spirits down, which is if you're speaking, you have a room, you're all chilling in the room, having a great time, and somebody walks in the room and they say, hey man, did you hear about this, that, or the other thing? And that's called bringing the demon or bringing a spirit into the room. That means that everyone else was having a great time. You brought that spirit into the room. You became the cause of everyone else in that room going into mourning, or for whatever death story you decided to bring in. That's one type of spiritual warfare. And the useful idiots used in that way. Just the people who think that spreading news is somehow being a good neighbor. All right. The other type of spiritual warfare is dealing with these demons, and I say straight demons that are moving through time, possessing bodies of those who you would call celebrities. And I've busted as many as I could, and you'll need to look. Just type in was in the search box on my YouTube channel. You'll see a bunch of videos I've done with people through time who show up. And what's interesting about that is, if you have a spiritual possession, it's as if the face over time shows the same features, man. It's like I have one with Mike Myers and his cohort, the dude who's with him right now, who's always with Mike Myers. I've traced those guys back over 100 years, man, and they were still like a comedy duo or some nonsense back then. This is quite a strange place. It was not what I was expecting years ago when I got into this. It wasn't what I thought I was going to find, but it is what it is, man. So those are the 2 types of spiritual warfare. And like I say, if I see a demon, I just bind and tie him, name of Jesus Christ, till the last day, and his judgment. I do none of that. I just bind him, let people know what I see. I say, hey, I'm seeing this thing. I'm going to bind it with my eyes. and you're welcome to go ahead and see what I see or not. But, I'm just letting you know, like with that one I did today with the Eric Dubé guy. One, the dude always looked like in a costume to me, man. Let me just be honest with you. All right. It always looked like it was shady, low quality video, and old. And then these pictures I found are all old, man. Old. So it's like they're trying to show me young pictures of David Wilcox, and they're trying to tell me that it's Eric Dubé. And I'm not supposed to see that it looks very much like David Wilcox. I'm just like, man, I was thinking to myself, how can I tell people that I don't see this dude? Because I see him like plain as day now. And this goes into these other demons, and this goes into politics. I want you to Bashar of what is that? Libya, right? I believe. I'm trying to remember him. Is the same as the now king of Spain. Same dude, man. Exact same dude, same wife. All they do is they just change their hair slightly. And the king, the guy who plays the king, he just shaves himself. If he plays Bashar, he just shaves himself. If he plays the king, he lets his beard grow. But he has like a cleft lip scar, which gives the game away, unfortunately for him. I'm looking at the when the veil drops, are people going to lose it? Oh, there's a question about if the veil drops, or when the veil drops, are people going to lose it? Well, that's what the Bible says. It says men's hearts will fail. That's what the word says. So I wouldn't doubt it, man. Most of these people can't handle being told where they live when they walk outside their front door. They're quite literally raging about that. How are they going to handle what what I have to tell them, or what they're going to see with their own eyes real soon? That's probably one of those things that is interesting, in that a lot of people are on YouTube to find truth together and to walk down a path and play patty cake or whatever. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to tell you what I see. You can take it or leave it. I could care less. It's not going to change what I see one bit. Not a bit. So anyways, I went through numbers. I wanted to speak to you about the what has to fail then? What has to fail in your mind? What construct has to fail in your mind after you understand you live on a flat plane? Therefore, the idea of space, the idea of planets, the idea of this ever expanding universe on top of another universe, and endless suns and all this other nonsense. That all has to go. All right, because you know through Genesis that the sun, the moon, and the stars are lights. All right, that's what you know. All right, you also know that the seas, the oceans, the tides, all that stuff, they were created the day before the sun and the moon and the stars. So they have nothing to do with each other. They're their own glory. As I've told you before, everything is its own glory, man. So then what happens is people say, okay, but then what? You know what? Step. Keep walking, Holmes. You know what I'm saying? Don't stick your beak, don't stick your nose underneath the tent, because I'm going to step on it. All right? I'm busy. I can't have you asking every second, hey, what about this? What about that? Because all the questions have been answered. I realized I did almost just about 30 videos on flat Earth, on the flat plane of Earth, in less than a month, only because it's already a known thing. So it's not like all you have to do is then come up with ways to show people. So you have to build a model. Speaking of which, hold on. Speaking of which, the model I made with the flat Earth, and to show you the idea of physics on the flat plane and the idea of acceleration, and to also show you that you see the drop. Do you remember I talked to you about the vision? When you look down a vision at the level, you're going to go ahead and see the reflection, and that's going to be what's called the mirage. I explained that point not only in the drawing, that you have that separation point, or that dip, that kind of fuzzy zone that I almost call it the dead zone, to where it's the blind spot. Just like when you're in your car, you have that blind spot. It's really hard to see. And I did notice, though, if I slow things down and focus in, I actually can resolve shapes within that fuzzy zone. It's just you have to take time to do it. I thought you'd find that interesting. Anyways, moving forward to that is then, if you watch that acceleration down through the CERN tube I made, it took over an hour to get that up to speed. And I put together 4 colors: red, green, blue, and yellow. Red, green, blue, which is going to be your 3 primaries, yellow being your additive primary, or your 4. Those 4 colors then went down the tube. They got up to Mach 54 in over an hour. That's fast, man. They all became one. They all blended into one mass. All right, what did that prove to you? It proved to you that there is a speed at which nothing can go faster, and that everything behind it then will go into it. That's what that proved. All right. So then also, it proved, well, that it proved 2 things. Also, the second CERN test I did was with the idea of creating the pillars of the Earth. All right. And then the 4 pillars of the Earth idea, and then balancing then the square or the oblong cube idea onto that, and creating what I call the eternal flame, where then you knocked that, you dropped it, you brought it into being. All right. 1, 2, 3, and a 1, 2, 3. What happens, right? When you go band practice, and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Well, 1, 2, 3, 6 into the eternal flame. And the eternal flame, like I told you before, will go on. That thing would have been burning still today. As long as my computer had power, it would have been burning, because it's an eternal flame. That's proven, and that can only happen on a flat. All right. I just wanted to bring that to your mind. And that's what those videos are about. I know a lot of people haven't looked at those, only in that they're a little bit, they're not hard to understand per se. They're just, you have to know what you're looking at. Otherwise, it's hard to understand what you're looking at. I get that. But I now explained it to you. So I think you'll have a better appreciation of what you're actually seeing, the physics of the flat plane, the physics of a speed that can be reached, and then that's it. All right. So then the proof that there is a barrier. All right. All right. At some point. All right. So anyways, well, on the other flat plane, I talked to you about the Pompo-Schlanzen effect, which is that I talked to you about the CERN effects. That deals with the flat plane physics, the idea of also the seas and the tides being the day before. That's biblical, man. So the only time you deal with contenders are those that have not done their work yet on the flat plane of Earth. And even if you go to really any one of these guys who do flat Earth videos, if they're doing observational work, it's going to be showing you something, that you can look at, and you can decide if that is something you want to look at or move away from. If somebody's just giving you, another interview with the same ideas from the same interview, the last time you heard it, it's like the same thing I heard last time. It's like, well, you already heard that, so you probably need to move along. And what I like to do about observational, and what that would be, is called observational science, which is just nothing more than observation. The idea of science is actually one that I don't like the word, only in that its meaning is corrupted, but words mean things. So, you know, the idea, the word science is the idea of a controlled observation, you know, one that can be checked and double checked. So I have a hellion dog next door, which has been barking at me for years and years. And I have this little ultrasonic device, which I press when it barks and it shuts it out. I'm pressing it now. All right. Now the dog shut up. It's like a hellion, man. So anyways, what was I? See, it was trying to knock me off my train of thought. So it was trying to figure out if I had a caboose to this thing. So anyways, what I was going to tell you about that was I did lose my train of thought. That darn hellion dog. Man, that dog's been barking at me for 5 years now, at least. All right. Hopefully it's shut up. So anyways, what was I jibber-jabbering about? Anyways, I'll just change the subject. Well, that's it, man. That's the yellow-green. I was talking about the programming, the idea of programming yellow and green, and the blue and all that, and the CERN machine, and the idea of the Pompo-Schlanzen effect, and the idea of people just running circles in interviews, and then moving into observational science. And the real meaning of the word science is just observations that can be double checked by you. You take a look at what I'm doing. If you go out and recreate it, and you'll be amazed. All right. So red, green, blue. Yeah. Well, red, green, blue, like I say, is your primary colors, and with the yellow being the additive, the fourth. So then like I told you with the CERN test, I did the fourth. It's called 4 into 1. Take a look at that. It creates the idea of what's called the black hole sun. That idea of a mass, which is going to create a vibration, which gives you a vibration is a tone. A tone is data. All right. Data is information. Data is knowledge, man. You see how all that works? And here, let me tell you another thing that's very interesting. And this is where, if you get into observational science per se, in any of this, most people will bag ass. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it when they thought the Earth was round. They're not going to do it when they know that it's flat. They're not going to want to work, because working, you still have to actually lift yourself up to do stuff. Just because the Earth is flat doesn't mean that things got easier. Just a lot of things that were in your head can now be dismantled and thrown away. Because I was thinking about that earlier. The architect, the fallen architect of this hellhole, has built a construct in your mind through false lies of death and death worship that are like a spider's web, a Charlotte's web in your head, man. You got to clean all that stuff out. It's all got to go, every bit of it. It doesn't profit you anything to believe nonsense. It just doesn't. Right. So anyways, man, that's it. So this has been fun. And unless anybody's got something to say or ask, I'll be out of here. One more bong toke. Take you out with a bong toke. Somebody says, so Dave, I see you are still afraid. No, I'm going to block you, because I don't deal with people like you. See, that's another thing. Nobody has a question. They just want to be part of the deal. It's like, man, so does anybody have anything they want to ask? I don't want to hear about your personal issues, right? If not, nothing. Nobody has anything to ask. Everybody knows everything, I guess, already, right? So maybe y'all can send me video links and take the burden off. Send me links of all these videos that people are doing that know all this stuff already. All right. Cheers. All right. So anyways, anybody got something to say? Say. All right. We'll see y'all later.